Hey y'all, today we are in the lower field. We're going to be planting some corn. I think I'm going to get the corn in the ground. I'm going to do some beans with them, some running beans, pole beans. I'm going to let those soak overnight and come back probably tomorrow and put those in between, in the middle of the rows. I was going to do some squashing stuff with the beans or with the corn. I still may do some of that. I may do those in the upper garden. I have a couple different varieties of corn. What I mainly am focused on planting down here is the sweet corn. So I have, let's see, I have ovals, I have Stowell's evergreen sweet corn and golden bantam sweet corn. And also too, a small pack of bull sweet corn. So that's what I'm going to be planting down here in the lower field. Behind the camera, behind you guys, I'll turn around and show you. We have some wheat popping up. It's about, I don't know, about 3 inches or so. So I planted it a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I planted it a couple weeks ago. It looks like it's doing pretty good. We got a little cold snap, so this is mid-March. It's the 18th, I believe. And I was wanting to plant the corn earlier, but I figured we'd have another cool snap. And yes, tonight it's supposed to be getting close to freezing. So I'm glad I didn't get it in the ground sprouting. Hope the wheat will be alright. I think wheat is a little more tolerant. But yes, I'm going to go ahead and start planting the corn today. It'll be in the dirt and insulated from the weather tonight. And hopefully it'll start warming up to germinate and start growing and us not get any more cold snaps as far as frost goes. So that's what we're working on today. I have a couple of other varieties of corn. I think Japanese black sticky corn, some Hopi pink corn, and a black, I think a Flint corn. Those are other heirloom varieties. I think I'm either going to put some of those down on the other end of this or do a couple of rows up at the top by the house to put those in. So I'm not sure. I'm going to see how far this corn, how much, what kind of an area I get with these couple bags of corn. If I get all this planted in corn, I ought to have a pretty good bit of corn if most of it grows and makes. So that's what we're looking at. All right, so here we are with the golden bantam. I'm gonna plant. I think I'm gonna do these do this section in thirds. Well, not quite thirds, but in 3 sections. So I'm gonna do golden bantam in this first part up to there's a root or a stick sticking out of the ground, and then from there I'm gonna do the Stowell's evergreen. And then the smaller portion on the end on the other side, there's like a little water break or a low spot where the water goes through the rows. And on the other side of that break, I think I'm going to do the bull sweet. That's the smallest section, and I just have a small pack of that. So as I go through, I'm just going to do this manually by hand, and I don't have any fancy machines or contraptions. Maybe one day I'll get something like that, but as of right now, I'm just going to put them in by hand. 12-inch spacings. So I'm going to do 2 sets. I'm going to do 1, 2, like this, and then I think I'm going to come back in the middle and put my beans to run up on the corn, and do that. Maybe some spots I might do some squash. And I'm gonna try not not to be too OCD. I want to sit here and pick all the stuff out of it, but this will take me forever in a day to do that. So I'm going to try not to be too OCD about this, which is kind of difficult. All right. Coin calibrated boots.
Mm-hmm.
Dirt on that side is definitely softer. On that side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so after doing one part of the garden by hand, I decided that I was going to try a seeder or planter. So this is just a little manual walk behind push planter. It's got little discs that go in it, and discs have little cups, and as you push it, it spins or it turns and it picks up a seed, or in this case a kernel of corn, and it brings it to the top. It drops it down a little chute down to the bottom, and it drops it in. So the discs are made for the size of the seed and the spacing of the seeds. the depth is this guy here, this wedge. I dropped it down to an inch. I played around with it a little bit without putting seeds in it. I'm not sure how this is going to work out. It's going to be better than bending over if I can get it to be halfway efficient. It feels like it is a little bit of a fight, but we'll see how it goes. I had it at 1.5 inches. It was really tough to push. There's a little flap on the back that was spring loaded. I took the spring off of it because it was a really tight spring, and it just acted like it wanted to just keep the dirt balled up ahead of the wedge. So I took the spring off of it. It just kind of sits there. Hopefully that'll be better. If not, I don't mind just taking that off altogether, let it wedge, plant the seeds, and then come back with a rake or something and rake the dirt back in over the seeds. That's not a big deal to me. I'm just trying to save my back from bending over constantly. So anyhow, I did the Bantam corn by hand or finger, and this is the Stowell Evergreen. I'm going to try to use with the push planter. And I hope this works, because I really don't want it to be a waste of time and money. But we shall see. That's another thing. I don't know if this thing is dropping seeds or not. It's going down there. So far, the problem I find with this is if you have really this is really sandy, loamy soil. So the front wheel kind of pushes down and digs down into the dirt. I almost have to kind of pull it kind of thing. I might find a way to put me some type of little board where I can actually just pull it. To keep that front wheel from just diving or digging in. The little cover thing I think is probably good if you're planting real shallow, but I'm not planting the corn very shallow, so by the time it digs down, this is just dragging the top and doesn't really cover it up good. I have to go back over it with a rake, which is okay. But if I got to go back over it with a rake, I just soon take this off and cover the whole thing up with a rake. It's still faster than bend over, stick your finger in, drop a seed in, pat it down. The only good thing about doing it by hand like that is you know each and every hole you got a seed and how far it's spaced and how deep it is. Hey y'all, we are back at the garden up by the house, I guess you'd say the upper garden. I finished putting the corn down in the lower garden. I use that that push planter or seeder or whatever you want to call it, and I think I just had a whole lot more expectation than what it did. It was faster, but I had to do a lot of I guess I had to do some redesigning of the machine. I'll show you. Alright, so first of all, I don't know if it's just these styles, this style of contraption, but I went to the little co-op, the little agricultural supply place here, and they had two different kinds. This guy here was like a little over $100, and the other one was $160 something. And I asked them, is the other one just that much better than this one? And their response was basically, we think you're just paying for the name. We think this is seems to be a pretty good little deal. So I tried it, and like I said, I don't know if my expectation was just more than what this could deliver, but we'll go through a couple of things. So first of all, it came with a this is the wedge that digs the trench. So the wedge digs a trench. This pulley turns a plate inside of your hopper. So this plate has little cups. The little cups pick up a seed. It's kind of like a water wheel. It picks up the seed and then drops it in this hole. And the seed goes down this tube and comes out of the bottom. Pretty simple design. Now all that works. It picks up a seed or seeds, and the different plates have different size cups depending on the size seed, and the spacing depending on the recommendation for the planting distance for those seeds. So first thing, the wedge had a spring-loaded flap on the back of it, and it goes up and down with the wedge, which I think first of all is not a very good design, because I was planting corn. Corn's can be about an inch to 2 inches deep, so I put it at 1.5 inches, and for this little machine, that's fairly deep to cut, which, it's loose soil. So long story short, this thing on the back seemed like it was just causing it to be like an anchor and dragging, so I took it off. Now this big fat wheel in the back is supposed to go over your hole and I guess kind of pack it down a little bit. Your front wheel is your drive wheel that drives the gear. These are really lightweight, and you really have to push them pretty good, which brings me to the biggest flaw I found in this thing. Is, as you can see, the handle is right here. The handle is supposed to be mounted here, which is where I originally put it, which puts the handle higher where it's good for your user, but in one stationary plane, about like this. So you need to have an adjustable handle on these things, because for one, your ground may be softer or harder, or someone may be taller or shorter, so an adjustable handle would be good. Secondly, I found a more horizontal plane worked better when pushing it. Instead of like this, I was pushing more down, and the whole front was just wanting to dive down into the dirt. So a more horizontal plane worked better with pushing this. So once I took this handle off of there and dropped it down here, there's only one hole for it to mount, so it does this, which I found is not necessarily a bad thing, because as I'm pushing it, I can raise or lower it for efficiency. the last thing is now what I've learned, because some of the dirt, when I would push it back up and like that, and dirt would get clogged up behind this wedge here, and my seed would drop and sit on the dirt, and then a couple of seeds would drop and sit on the dirt. So you can't back up. Well, you shouldn't back up with this unit, because you'll get clogged up and your seeds won't fall all the way down. So that's another thing. And plus too, it drops seeds, but I've noticed several of them, if you angle it this way a little bit, it seems like it didn't want to drop seeds very efficiently. If you angled it this way a little bit, it seemed like it was dropping more seed than what you would want to drop. So and it's tough to keep it straight up and down. But that's another thing I found. It's not very reliable if you want to be precise. So, long story short, doing it by hand, poking a hole, dropping a seed in, poking a hole, dropping a seed in. I mean, you get your spacing you want, the seed depth you want, but you're having to squat down, bend over, squat down, and do that. Which, for some of my heirloom seeds in my shorter rows, I don't mind doing that because I have more control over it. This was faster, even though I had to do some manipulation to it. So with bulk stuff like the sweet corn I was planting, I think it's okay. I'm gonna try to make a couple of modifications to it, and I think one of them is just the modification of usage, is to run it without seed in it. Go ahead and dig your little trench without seed in it, and then put your seed in it and run back over the same trench, so that way you're not having to work as much with your cutter, and then hopefully it'll be more consistent and drop seeds more consistently. I think that's what I'm going to try. Even that, going over it twice, is still way better than, or more efficient, more or less labor intensive than manually doing it by hand. I'm sure there are some other little seeders out there. I think I might try to make one with a pipe that you just stand up and basically do your hole, drop it down instead of bending over and all that. I'm going to try to make one of those and see how that works. But it's okay. Is it worth $100? Well, everything's expensive today, but I would say no. If I spent, I don't know, $40 on this thing, I would say, okay, well, yeah, it'll be all right. I'll make do with it. But $100, I think, is too much for this guy. So maybe the 161 was that much better. I don't know. But anyhow, that's what we got.